that went to prison and who fought on this as hard as that. This is history. This is history. Right now, you're witnessing history on the floor of the U.S. Senate. It is a Christmas miracle underway where, for the first time in a generation, Republicans and Democrats are arm in arm tonight saying, we are sending too many people to prison. They're coming out bitter and not better. We want to make a tremendous difference. I want to say Hakeem Jeffries on the left, Jared Kushner, and Donald Trump on the right have brought together a coalition like I've never seen.
2 years later.
To be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Telling the truth matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. It's a vindication for a lot of people.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this fascinating story from President Trump that he told about Crime Van Jones of the Crime Negro Network, CNN. He told his story on Patrick Bet-David's podcast, in which he's going to talk about helping out Van Jones with criminal justice reform, something that apparently Van Jones was crying to Trump about, which, again, is just hilarious that Trump said that he was crying. Because apparently Van Jones cries about everything, okay? I mean, he's just a crime Negro, right? So, anyways, Trump is going to explain how much of a snake Van Jones is, because Trump actually helped out Van Jones in ways that Democrats probably would never help out somebody like Van Jones. But yet, in return for Trump's help, what did Van Jones do? Well, he went on TV and started trashing Trump, okay, in his presidency, and boohoo whining and crying after Joe Biden got elected, right? And that's essentially a good example of how these people in the mainstream liberal media, how phony they are, how fake they are, how disloyal they are. They're just snakes, okay? And a lot of these people know that you have to be anti-Trump, even if you know that Trump is a good person, right? They have to go in the media and trash him in order to maintain their jobs, right? I think that's what's happening with Alyssa Fair Griffin, right? I think Alyssa Fair Griffin is also a snake, also a sleazebag as well, too. She worked for the Trump administration, and Trump actually did a recent podcast in which he exposed her writing him a letter, right, about how thankful she was to work for his administration. And now all of a sudden, she's one of the most Trump deranged individuals in the mainstream liberal media, although she claims to be a conservative Republican.
The View, I know them. So Whoopi's a filthy mouth on her. I've hired Whoopi over the years, at hotels that I own. We hired her once, and I went. She was so filthy, disgusting, dirty with her mouth that the whole group left. There was nobody watching her. She was a comedian. And you know what? Nobody knows this. She said, I admire you so much. Would you do me a favor, what? Would you do a cameo in a movie I'm making? I did a cameo in some crummy movie she made. And then I run for politics. Joy is, she thought the world was flat. You saw that, right? Joy is dumb. The other one worked for me. She wrote a letter. One of them, I don't know, whatever her name is. She worked for me in the White House. She writes a letter. This was the greatest experience. You're the greatest president. I love you. You're the greatest president. There's nobody. We have the letter someplace. It's a letter that she wrote when she left the White House. Then all of a sudden they hire her and she goes negative. Okay. They said, hey, we'll give you a lot of money if you go negative, whatever her name is. Let's see. The other two I didn't know. Oh, this guy I know, Jimmy Fallon. I'm telling you, I hate to use, but they're all losers. They're all lightweights, though.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that. Now, I personally hope that Trump exposes Alyssa Fair Griffin, right? There's just something about her that I really, really, really don't like, okay? I think what it is that I know that she's fake. I know that she has sold her soul for money, right? Just like Ana Navarro, she wants to be a part of the club, okay? Because that's how it is. They don't like conservatives and Republicans. As a conservative and a Republican, in order to remain a part of the club, to be invited to the parties, the dinners, okay, you have to hate Trump, right? And this is the crazy thing. You can be a Republican and conservative and not necessarily a fan of Trump, but this woman, Alyssa Fair Griffin, and Anna Navarro as well too, there's nothing conservative or Republican about them at all, right? On The View, they don't take any conservative or Republican positions. They're literally just there to be anti-Trump, right? I mean, you can be conservative and Republican without being anti-Trump. But these people, they're just anti-Trump, and they're also liberal while claiming to be conservative and Republican. Anyways, that's a whole nother video for another day. I can go on and on and on about those two individuals who I strongly dislike. But we got to talk about Van Jones, who is another one of these individuals that, Trump did favors for, and he ended up stabbing Trump in the back because, again, in order to be a part of the club, in order to get on CNN, to be on all these outlets, to get the fame and the glory, you have to hate Trump, okay? Although Trump did Van Jones a favor, and Van Jones ended up backstabbing him, which is what Trump is going to talk about here. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I saw a guy named Van Jones. He's I don't think anybody knows who he is. He's a commentator for CNN. And he came to see me in the White House, and he was crying.
I remember that.
He was crying because I bring these things up because it's a lack of, I don't know, there's something about loyalty. You help somebody with something. He came in with a fairly large group of people, mostly black people, and he was devastated because criminal justice reform wasn't going to happen. Obama didn't do it, and didn't even come close. Bush didn't try. Nobody was going to do it. And I'm the only one that could have done it. And he was with a group of people that they were begging to do it. They were 5 votes short. And they had to be conservative votes because there was nobody else left, right? And I guess you needed the 61 or 60 something, maybe 66, but 61 is a hard vote. And he made a plea to me, Van Jones, total sleazebag. He made a plea to me to help him and help this group of people. And they explained how for years they've been trying to get it, and they've been unable to get it. And I said, well, let's take a look at it. And I studied it for a little while and spoke to them. And I said, you know what, I'm going to help you. It's going to help the black people in particular. And I'm going to get it for you guys. And I called up 5 very conservative senators. And I'll never forget one of the senators who was in charge of it. He was literally leading the charge against it. And I mean, his whole career was this. He was going to stop criminal justice reform. Not because he was, anti-black, just he didn't like it. He didn't want it. And he was in the papers every day. He's fighting it, winning very easily. And I helped him get elected. Without me, he wouldn't have gotten elected. I'll never forget it. I called him up. Now, he's in the heat of passion. He is fighting this all the way. Not something he would ever give up. You couldn't, there's some things you can't. I call him up. He gets on the phone. I didn't say a word. I said, hello. And he goes, I'm giving it to you. I said, what are you giving me? I'm giving you criminal justice reform. That's why you're calling, right? I said, it is why I'm calling. He said, you got me elected. I disagree with you, but I'm giving it to you just like that. I said, that's one of the coolest things I've ever heard, because I also have the opposite where I got a lot of people elected. When I endorse somebody in history, and I don't want to brag, but in history, you can get another chart on that one. I mean, I'm like 289 and almost nothing for endorsements. And he said, you got me elected. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for you. And I did, but I got a lot of people elected, and some of them forget. And I said, that's the coolest thing. I said, thank you. I said, do you mind if I call a couple of the... Nope, you do whatever you want. Now...
Yeah, so before he goes further here, I just want to make the point that this story is important because when you listen to individuals like Roland Martin, right, and the pro-blackity blacks, they will do anything, right, to debunk the narrative that Trump helped out black folks, right, that Trump went out of his way to do things, okay, to benefit black people. Like, for example, when it comes to HBCU funding, which disproportionately benefits black people, Trump went out his way to extend it, right? But again, if you listen to people like Roland Martin and all the other pro-blackity blacks, they'll make up all types of excuses and reasons for why you shouldn't give Trump credit for that, right? That's what they'll do. And they do the same thing when it comes to this as well, too. They'll say things like, oh, well, Republicans and Democrats both agreed on it. A lot of this was done under Obama, right, in regards to the legislation in and of itself. And I'm like, okay, well, Trump still signed the bill because he could have vetoed it and sent it back to Congress, but he didn't do it. He still signed the bill. But according to these people, no, he doesn't get credit. He didn't do anything, right, to benefit black people at all, nothing. But he signed the bill. Not only did he sign the bill, but apparently he helped whip up some of the votes that were needed from Republicans who were opposed to it to get them on board in a bipartisan basis to make it happen. Which is something that clearly he doesn't talk about too much, although I think he should, but he doesn't. He doesn't. That's the crazy thing. Trump will do something for somebody and he'll never talk about it. He'll never say anything about it. Now, he does brag a lot, right? But there's sometimes when he'll tell stories, I'm like, why is he not telling this story, right? Why isn't he telling this story more often, right? Because this is easy pushback to this idea that, oh, well, he doesn't get any credit for the First Step Act. This is something that Democrats and Republicans had already worked out before he got into office. Well, apparently not, right? Apparently not. Which is part of the reason why Obama didn't get it done. But Trump gets it done, and they don't want to give Trump any credit for anything. But behind closed doors, according to him, he was whipping up the votes. He was doing what he got to do because of crying Negroes like Van Jones coming into his office begging for it, right? It's amazing. The man does not get enough credit.
This is a guy who was the leader of the fight. I didn't even ask. He knew what I was calling for because he knew that I was going to help Van Jones, this Van Jones guy. I was going to help him. And you'll understand why I'm being nasty to him now, because what happened later is disgraceful. So I said, thank you very much, Senator. I'm so happy that I did help you. I think loyalty is a great thing. And that was it. So I had his vote. I then called 4 other guys, all of whom were against it. And I said, I'd love to have. And, they, they don't do it for a lot of presidents, but they do it for me. And I got them 5 votes that they needed, and criminal justice reform passed, right? Then, and I was happy for them. I was happy for everybody. Everybody was happy. They couldn't believe they got it done. And it was something that really the black population wanted far more than anybody else. I've never even heard it mentioned with other people. It was mostly the black population.
Yeah, because they don't have to worry about it as much. They're not over here, making their criminals the main priority in their community, right? Only black people. We the only people that make criminals the main priority. But, I mean, in this case right here, with the First Step Act, they kind of roll back some of the excesses that, people argue were wrongfully implemented by people like Joe Biden, right? Now, me personally, I'm a tough on crime type of person, right? I believe that, the crime bill, for the most part, was, at the time, it was necessary, right? Black people were begging for it, okay? And see, a lot of people want you to forget that. And people like to use the crime bill against Joe Biden. But to be honest with you, I think that that was one of the rare pieces of legislation, bipartisan legislation that happened back in the 90s that I think was overall positive, because crime declined tremendously after the crime bill. Now, that doesn't mean that some things weren't overdone, right? And that some things didn't need to be rolled back, which happened with the First Step Act. I'm just saying that ultimately, at the end of the day, Trump got that done. Right, he reined in some of the excesses, the things that people complain about the most, but he doesn't get credit for doing that, right? He doesn't get credit for doing it. And I think that's the sad part.
And they've been fighting it for you'd say 40, 50 years, right?
64.
So we got
40, 50 years, yeah.
Yeah. So I got it done. I got something done. I got a lot of things done that nobody else could have gotten done. So what happens is Van Jones and all, they called for a news conference that night. The vote was taken. They got it done. And I said to my wife, come on over here. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful thing to watch. Watch this. This gentleman was in my office a number of weeks ago, and he needed votes, and I got it done. It'll be nice to watch somebody really say something nice about your husband. I said that to Melania, and I said, watch this. And they got up and they spoke. But Van Jones got up, and it was a little, I don't get too embarrassed. He got up, he thanked this one, he thanked that one, he thanked this one, that one. The only one he didn't thank was Donald Trump. And I look at that sleazebag now and I say, he's got bad way.
Yeah. So that is Trump exposing Van Jones, right, for being fake, okay? And he went on to boo-hoo on and cry when Joe Biden got elected in, tears of joy, right? A lot of vindication, okay? I mean, this dude was basically about to cry when Joe Biden dropped out of the race against Trump. It's just funny how that works. How can you hate a man so much that you cry when his opponent wins, when the man that you hate so much helped you out when you needed help the most, right? For an issue that Van Jones is passionate about. But again, a lot of these people, they're fake, man. They sell their souls to the media, and they're actors. They're just on television doing what they're paid to do, which is literally just hate Trump no matter what. So hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.